On the 8th AU-UN Annual Conference, the two organs reviewed the activities to strengthen their cooperation in areas such as peace, security, human rights, and sustainable development. During his remark at the conference, United Nations Secretary General AntónioGuterres highlighted the long-standing inequalities in the global financial system, pointing out that it has historically disadvantaged African countries. He emphasized that the financial system, deeply rooted in colonial legacies, designed to benefit the former colonial powers while leaving African countries with distorted economies.
The international financial architecture must be corrected, and must be corrected to give more voice and more power to developing countries in general, of course African countries in particular, and to mobilize much more resources, the SDG stimulus, to reduce the debt and to create the conditions for sustainable development and for climate action in mitigation and adaptation to the benefit of developing countries. And I hope that now it will be possible to implement those measures because they are essential for justice in relation to the African continent.
The Secretary General also noted the growing challenge African nations face, such as the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, inflation exacerbated by the war in Ukraine, and the overwhelming debt burdens. Despite its rich resources, Guterres stressed that Africa remains economically constrained and lacks access to adequate concessional finance, which hampers its ability to invest in sustainable development and climate adaptation. Stressing the need for reforming the international financial system, Guterres called for more voice and power for developing countries, particularly African nations, within global financial institutions.
There is now a consensus of member states that the Security Council must be reformed, and there is a consensus about all member states that the key aspect of that reform is to have 2 African members as permanent members of the Security Council.
Speaking on African representation in the United Nations Security Council, Guterres reiterated the growing international consensus on the need for reform, emphasizing that Africa must have a permanent seat at the decision-making table. He underscored that this reform is crucial for ensuring that African voices are heard in global governance, particularly on issues of peace and security, where the continent often bears the brunt of conflicts.